Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Division 7, Gary Van Dam.
Here.
Division 6, Audrey Miller.
Here.
Division 5, Robert Paris.
Here.
Division 4, George Lane.
Here.
Division 1, Shelley Sourceable.
Here.
Division 3, Frank Donato. Division 2, Keith Dias.
Here.
Dwayne Chisholm.
Here.
Tilden Kim.
Here.
And Holly Hughes present.
Thank you very much. Item 3, voluntary roll call. If any member of the public wishes to introduce themselves, please feel free to do so now.
Vincent Dino, Palmdale Water District.
Hello, Vincent.
Jack Cephas, White Fence 3.
Hey, Jack.
Hi.
Thank you.
Cassette, as Farms 1 and 2.
Thank you, John.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, this is John Joyce from the Roseman News.
Thank you, John.
Chad Reed, Quartzel Water District.
Hello, Chad. Okay, item 4, period public comments and period open to the public. If anyone wishes to address the board on any item not on the agenda, please feel free to do so now. Hearing none, we'll move along to item 5. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Mr. President, this is Rob. I move we adopt the agenda.
Thank you.
And this is Director Sourceable, I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, measure passes. Thank you very much. Item 6, consent calendar. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent calendar?
This is Director Sourceable. I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you.
This is Director Donato. I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. Item 7A, Finance Committee. Director Donato, do you have a report?
Hang on a second here. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we have a report on Resolution R 21-13, the joint tax sharing resolution with LA County Sanitation District regarding annexation. We'll have our general manager, Chisholm, explain what that's all about.
Thank you, Director Donato. The item before you today is a joint tax sharing resolution. It's very similar to many resolutions that the board has approved in the past. What this resolution does is it allows a sharing of tax revenue for increased assessed value on property for a parcel that's located at the corner of Highway 14 and let's see, Avenue D. That it's on the south east corner, and there's a parcel there that would like to annex into the county sanitation district in order to receive sanitation services. And this joint tax resolution is allows for some of the increased taxes associated with the increase in assessed value to go to the sanitation district to cover their expenses. As I mentioned previously, these have come up from time to time. We did have our tax consultants take a look at it along with our legal staff, and there's no principal or significant financial impact anticipated from adopting this resolution. With that, staff would recommend approving resolution 21-13, I should say.
Okay, this is Director Nato. I'll move on Board Order 7A1 that we approve the resolution of R-21-13.
Mr. President, this is Rob. I second that motion.
Any more discussion or questions? Hearing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Heath Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. Anything further, Director Donato?
No, that's concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay,
We've been
thank you.
passing this for years. Like to see what happens one time if we did not vote for it. It'd be interesting.
Item 7B, Watermaster Committee. Director Paris, do you have a report?
Yes, Mr. President. The Water Master Committee met. We discussed a long-term, or started to discuss planning for the long-term to get our administrative staff less involved in the Water Master Board and share the duties with other ones of the members. At our next Water Master meeting, or before that, we will send this to our Water Master Administrative Committee, and staff is currently working on proposals that we can work with the Water Master on, and hopefully share or give some of, if not all, the duties back to the Water Master. We've been working as the administrative staff and general manager for the Water Master Board for, I think, certainly since the inception, and we have a lot going on in AVEK, as we all know, and we're looking to find alternatives to having our staff completely involved in the Water Master Board. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, Rob, this is Director Van Dam. Is our assessments going to go up?
Gary, I certainly brought that up in the committee meeting, and obviously we don't know that. We're looking at alternatives where we can share some of the duties with the other members, like AVEK is taking on the duties. So that's unknown at this time until we come up with a concrete proposal for how to do this.
And by the way, I'll just indicate that any increase in the fees associated with a Water Master would be approved and adopted by the Water Master Board, not AVEK. AVEK doesn't have any association with increasing fees for the Water Master Board. Just want to clarify.
Thank you for doing that, Dwayne. And the way I took the question was Gary asking, would the fees go up on the per acre foot of water for the groups that pay the fees? So I guess that would include AVEK and anyone else who has water allocations.
Great.
Yeah, I was one of the people that brought this up as Director Donato, because AVEK's got a couple things going on. The first thing is in 2022, that's the last year of the Rampdale program. And we need to work diligently, very hard with the existing staff on the High Desert Water Bank. And we need Matt involved totally with that. We also got Ritter Ranch coming on, which you'll be hearing down the road here, with the first 500 homes, which are going to be building a transmission line down Highland Road. And then we got the other CV communities, City Venture, that's going to look to build another 750 homes West Lancaster. So we need our staff. Unless Gary or the board wants to go spend another $200,000-300,000 on employees to take care of their jobs. And that's what it's time for the Water Master working gradually to this direction, they should control their own staff and let us manage our agency while they manage their agency with personnel. So, because it's going to get big, because when they start doing this ramp down, when the ramp down goes away, it's the advisory committee and the water master has to make decisions that really don't affect AVEK. I mean, AVEK's the one who's the backbone of the whole system. We're supposed to have the water available and hope to have backup water available, and that's what we need to focus on. So that was one of the reasons why I asked the committee to take a look at this. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen gradually, but this is a start.
Thank you, Frank. Any other questions by the board?
Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you,
Item
Mr.
7C, Delta Conveyance and Negotiation Committee. Again, Director Donato, do you have a report?
Yeah, basically it's a short change sheet between AVEK and the city of Palmdale for transferring purchase of the nickel water, and I'm going to have Dwayne go over this in detail.
Thank you, Director Donato. Yes, just start with a little bit of background just to refresh the board's memory. AVEK entered into a joint facilities agreement with CB Communities and also Palmdale Water District. And part of that joint facilities agreement was to allow the city of Palmdale to utilize the water that is not used by the Joshua Ranch project under Community Facilities District 16-1 to use that water for either marketing or use within their the Amagosa Creek project. The last couple of years, they have chosen to market that water, and AVEK has assisted the city of Palmdale in doing that. In this year, in which we have a very dry period of time in 2022, as we've indicated to the board in several of our general manager updates. We've asked that that the city of Palmdale actually allow AVEK to purchase that water, and the city of Palmdale decided to split the water that they have available between the two public import water suppliers, AVEK and Palmdale Water District. So each of us would receive 282 acre feet of water. And we do have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation here. I'll kind of go over some of the details. As I mentioned before, this particular slide talks about the 564 acre feet that's available. And there's 282 that AVEK could use in a one-time transfer. The specifics of the project, it would be a one-time cost of $170,892 for the single year. That's equivalent to $606 per acre foot. And that price was derived using the dry year water purchase program through the UBA Accord to indicate what the market conditions are for that dry year water purchase program. And the transfer would be complete this year in 2021 for use in 2022. And AVEK would be responsible for the delivery, conveyance, and other matters.
What cost would that be? What would the cost be delivered approximately?
Approximately $200 an acre foot.
Additional,
yeah. So the Delta Conveyance Negotiation Committee met with staff. We went over the proposal to be able to utilize this water as I'll outline in the next matter. AVEK is short of water for 2022, and this is a good price for the water in this particular water market. So the recommendation from the staff and the Delta Conveyance Committee is to authorize the general manager to execute the agreements necessary to fill the terms of the term sheet. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Just recent presentations that were presented to the board that we had ample, water. We had charts.
Right.
Now all of a sudden we're hearing there's a shortage. Could you please?
Sure. I'd be happy to. The charts that you've been looking at and we've been looking at are long-term water supply looks out 20 to 25 years. And those are based on per average amounts of water that you would anticipate to receive, along with our banking facilities and what we plan to construct over the next few years in order to enhance those banking facilities. And so that's when we refer to having sufficient water supplies for the long term. We do have sufficient water size for the long term even with the reduction in the state water allocation and with the dry periods that we would have from time to time. We are at this particular point in our infrastructure a little short of infrastructure to fully utilize all the water resources that we have that are in the ground. And these water resources that we're talking about now are actually wet water in the canal that we can be able to utilize at the Court Sill treatment plant in order to meet peak demands during the summer months.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical of the presentation because those are all estimates, what we project water is going to be available. And we haven't been very good, or at least the state hasn't been very good at the estimate. We have to rely upon numbers that are presented to AVEK for our use. But now here we are, $800+ an acre foot. In just a few weeks or a month or so ago, the board voted down. We had ample water, and we just recently, I think we funded $4 million dollars, and some of that sure could have been used for this program. And so I'm a little skeptical. It seems like we're getting this in pieces versus the whole picture. And what's in $800 an acre foot? That seems very high. I know things have went up, but what's the most AVEK has ever paid for water?
Right in that ballpark, about $800-900 an acre foot is the most we paid so far. However, the next item will increase that amount. So,
what do you mean?
And when we get to the next item.
Now this water here, this is 2022 water. Or?
This is 2022 water.
Yes. And we know what's available from. Or
yes.
How do we know?
Because we have this. This is water that AVEK has that we've set aside for use by Joshua Ranch and the city of Palmdale.
But it comes from Lake Isabella. Is that correct?
No, this water comes from the State Water Project.
That's the Nichols water?
Yes.
I thought it was their runoff water from their
Nickel water, it's a little complicated. The water we receive from the Nickel family is associated with water that is stored in the Kern County Water Bank, or Kern Water Bank, I should say, not county, Kern Water Bank. And that water is delivered to that water bank and is available on an annual basis for pump in to the State Water Project for our delivery to our service area, and also to San Gregorio, which we've leased that water to.
When the check is made for this water from the people who have the contract, who do they make? Is it made out of the state, or is it made out of Nichols? How was Nichols paid for?
This water would be paid to the city of Palmdale. So Palmdale would receive the money. We get
when this water was purchased.
Yes.
Who sold it?
Yes.
Who sold it?
AVEK, if I understand your question correctly, AVEK makes a payment to the Nickel family every year. and on an annual basis. We pay that, and then we get receipts from selling that water.
And the city has X amount of water.
And they have an X amount of water due to the joint facilities agreement that we entered into that allowed them for a short period of time to be able to utilize that water until it's fully utilized by Joshua Ranch project.
And you probably got exactly the cost going to be to AVEK next year from the state water.
The variable costs or
water delivery. I'm just trying to compare this 800 with what our other cost is going to be.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be about treated water delivered. I mean, water that we get from the State Water Project delivery costs are run about $300 an acre foot. That includes treatment.
Now we're looking at $800 on this water.
Yes.
I'd question that unless it can be shown that we have to have the water. If we should.
Hey, George, this is Frank. Dwayne didn't explain the whole thing. The nickel water is a priority over table A water. If the state of California goes into another drought like we did this year, we're going to get nothing. Maybe we'd be lucky to get 5% of our water. Maybe we don't get nothing, but the nickel water flows ahead of table A, so we'll get that water no matter what. I brought up in the committee that if that happens, the $800, that we need to have a special emergency water rate, and I brought this up, that we're going to be running into some other things you're going to see here in a few minutes with some other water. We don't have the water that it's a patch job. So right now the reservoirs are down, and we're going to be looking at some other water, maybe which will be another presentation that Dwayne's going to give on the Homer group, that we're going to be possibly buying their water to also meet the requirements of our water retail people, so we can give them water, because a lot of the retail water agencies, we're finding out, can't pump enough water with their existing wells. One part of it. Two, they need to blend our water with their water. So I said to Dwayne and the committee, I said, if we're going to pay more money for this water, which will be emergency water, we need to pass this on to the water retailers. I don't think any of them are going to have a problem versus us saying, no, we can't deliver water. So we need to bring these options up. We need to bring them. And Dwayne, I appreciate if you tell the board that's not privileged to the committee meetings that the nickel water is an insurance policy, because if we don't get zero table A, I can tell you, everybody in the world will have no problem paying $800 an acre foot for priority water. So
we're talking about 1,200 new homes, and we refunded approximately $4 million. Is that clear? Plus or minus?
Plus or minus.
And
George, I'm not done yet. George, this water here, it's a 35-year agreement with one 35-year extension. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not, it's perpetual, possibly to 70 years, but I don't think we have a problem, but explain to him, explain to George and the board that I think this should have been done probably after the Homer situation, because it's going to tie in to what we're doing here.
You're probably right there, Director John. And I'll put a preface in just to give you a little bit of overview here with regards to the water situation for 2022, and this is kind of a lead into the next item that's coming up on the agenda. Currently, as Director Dono mentioned, our reservoirs are very, very low. You'll see that in the General Manager's report. Typically, AVEK has utilized carryover water from year to year. Approximately 15 to 20,000 acre feet is the target that AVEK likes to start the water year with, so that we have an assurance that we can meet the peak demands of our customers during the summertime period. We're going to have very little water to zero that we're planning on carry over this particular year. In order to facilitate some having some carryover water to start 2022 in the year, to get the year started. AVEK has been looking for acquiring these supplies to make sure that we have water during that peak period in the summer months. And so that's the situation that we find ourselves in. And as Director Donato has mentioned, that the price of water during this very drought periods has gone up significantly. And the next item on the agenda will be a proposal for acquiring between 5 to 10,000 acre feet of additional water to begin 2022.
You know, this may all be correct in what you're saying, but this is not the presentation that we had earlier in the summer, that we were assured we had plenty of water. Don't worry about it. We'll give this $4 million back. We're talking about a $500 an acre increase approximately over our existing water, and somebody's got to pay for it. We're talking about 1,200 new homes, and I would like to make sure before we buy this water that we're saying our retailers would be happy, and maybe they would, but I think we need to inquire and make sure that that does make sense for them. And maybe it does, and maybe they'll all say, yes, we'll have it. It's better to have that than nothing. But I'm still having a really major difficulty over the presentation during the summer that I questioned many things about it. Now we're hearing just the opposite. Within a couple of months later.
Yeah, it's the difference between long-term and short-term water, and I understand.
Well, that's not what was presented. It was presented that we're fine. We refund these checks. We've got enough water, and we talked about it several board meetings, and here we are. It's pretty hard to have one presentation and base your decision to vote on one thing, and we hear the opposite 2 months later and say, well, things have changed in the long term and short term. But water's water, and this wasn't never mentioned about there'd be a shortage for next year. We were showing our water bank, and we had plenty of water to go around and meet all of our demands. This water, Nichols water, are we paying Palm Building premium, or is this the actual cost?
This is the cost that's associated with dry year water that the State Water Project buys. So this is the water that they're that is the common dry year water program. It's the cheapest water program that's available.
Oh, well, I'm not understanding this. So this is water that's banked by the Nickel family, or the Nickel entity, right?
Correct.
But we're paying a premium since it's a dry year water?
We're paying, I'm not sure I understand completely the question. We're paying the city of Palmdale that has this water, the $606. There's no premium per se.
Well, what would it cost in a wet year?
Water would be significantly less, probably a couple $100 an acre foot.
This is part of that agreement we did a number of years ago. Is that correct? This water
with the city of Palmdale
and AVEK has X number of this water, and Palmdale has a certain water. Now we're buying. How many acre feet does AVEK have of it?
Let's see, it's 282 acre feet is what we're acquiring this year.
No, okay, is that what our agreement was? It was done several years ago.
It's the agreement that we did several years ago indicates that Palmdale would have the right to 564 acre feet of water that was not used for the Joshua Ranch project. That's what our agreement says.
Did we have any of that water specifically for AVEK?
None of that water is for AVEK.
What were they suing us about then?
Well, that's a different. That's probably
not part of this water.
That's not part of this water. It's something we should probably talk.
It's the same principles, same owners?
No.
Well, and Dwayne, this is just for a single year. This is a 1 year transfer.
Excuse me, I'm not quite finished yet. But this water, Palmdale receives X number of acre feet, but since it's a dry year, who's raising the price?
This is the price that was agreed to by Palmdale. Palmdale gave us the price.
But what is it costing them?
It's costing them nothing. They get the water, and then
It costs them a little something, delivery, like a.
Well, it's AVEK's picking up the delivery costs, so it doesn't. They don't incur any significant costs.
So they're not paying anything additional for this water.
Correct.
But the dry year, oh God.
Well, wait a second. I got a question.
Wait a second, please.
Okay.
Who negotiated that? We're paying this premium for this dry year.
We don't have to. We negotiated it. Staff negotiated the price based on the market for water in 2022, and we presented that to the committee for concurrence.
But yet, state water is approximately $300 an acre feet.
That's correct.
We're paying $800 or $600, $800 every time we pay to our taps.
You're paying $600 more than you would otherwise. Yes.
I don't think that's correct, because the nickel water is $800 across the board of the total allocation, and then a portion of that allocation, 500 of acre feet, went to Palmdale. Somebody's paying the original $800 acre foot.
Let me see if I can explain that. So we get we being AVEK gets an invoice from the Nickel family for their cost of their water. That water is then.
How much was it?
I don't know exactly. It's about 1.2 million. Okay, it's right in that ballpark. Okay, that's for the 1,700 acre feet.
But don't you have the chart of how much it was per acre foot?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Somebody there have that chart, because it was on there. It's on that chart.
Right. I don't have that chart with me. But I wanted to get across this point is that we immediately, once we received the bill from the Nichols, we invoice San Gregorio Water District for the cost of that water. So the net impact to AVEK is zero for the water.
Because we sold the water?
Because we leased the water
for how many years?
For 20 years.
Oh my God.
Okay. In addition to that, we've received $300 an acre foot replacement water for San Gregorio. So we get an extra $300 an acre foot for the water that we lease to San Gregorio.
So how much an acre foot? I mean, it has a calculator. 1,700 acre feet. We pay approximately $1.2 million. How much?
I don't have a calculator with me. I'm going to say it's about, what do you think?
You know what? In the future, can we please, bring the material to the board meeting, so when we ask these questions, we can get the answers, the correct answers? That's all we're asking.
I understand. I didn't realize we would have this level of discussion.
Well, we're not done. Wait till you get to the Homer deal.
I understand.
So back to the question of the roughly $1.2 million for 1,700 acre feet. That equates to roughly $700 per acre foot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And sell it to AVEK for $600. $600.
Yeah, they get about
plus or minus.
Right, they have 170,000 acre, so $170,000.
Somehow that doesn't quite seem correct. Then we got to pass it on. The retail water agencies have to pass it on to the customers. Somehow that seemed like price gouging.
I just, water in this water year is going between $1,000 and $1,500 an acre foot.
And part of that water is going to go to the Palmdale customers. People live in Palmdale.
Palmdale's going to make an equivalent payment for the other half of the water. Yes.
Yeah. Well, if we think that's correct, that's fine, but I think it's nice to know the whole story. And then that $600 is just coming out of the thin air because there's a shortage. We're going to charge for it. And yet on the $200, we've got $800 an acre foot water. And maybe maybe we need it, maybe we don't, but we don't know at this time. But still, that's not. It doesn't appear to be correct when they're getting the water for no cost, and we're doing it for $600.
Right.
And that water to the customer is probably going to end up well over $1,000 an acre foot. The retail customer, or maybe double that.
Right.
Maybe $1,200 an acre foot.
I don't know what the markup is for the retail customers, but there will be an added expense, and
well, that doesn't include treatment either. I mean, that's
correct.
So, what's our treatment cost? Approximately
about $100 an acre foot.
So we're already up to at least 900, and we got to have a little something above that for delivery and like that. So, yeah, we're probably talking about pushing $1,000 an acre foot to the retail customer.
That's probably true. Well, that's probably the amount that'll end up in the rate study.
If we don't negotiate those things a little bit better, if we just take what somebody says, I'm not sure what the negotiation was on that $600 an acre foot, but we need to do better than that.
All I can say is that the going rate for water on the open market today is between $1,000 and $1,500 an acre foot. The item that we're going to talk about in just a minute has been negotiated to $1,200 an acre foot for that water. So this is half the cost of that water.
Yeah, but Dwayne, you're not the presentation. You're not giving it correctly because you're not telling the whole facts. Why are we doing this? It has to do that we're out of water of table A, and we're going to be taking our recharge water and utilizing that. And we're going to try to put all these things together. Next will be the homer to make next year's demands work. You got to tell them what's going on, and we're not getting any help from the stupid governor. So the governor doesn't. She doesn't talk about a drought or anything. Why don't you tell him that this is the worst drought that's ever been recorded?
Correct. The situation that we find ourselves in at this particular point is that the reservoir levels are exceptionally low in both Orville and in San Luis Reservoir. A lot of the carryover water has been utilized this drought year. The allocation for next year is at best anticipated to be 15 or 20%. We're going to start with zero. We do not have sufficient water supplies to meet peak demands during the summer of 2022. And we're working with our customers, we're working with our water bank, and we're working with outside providers to get the minimum amount of water that's necessary in order for us to start out the year with enough guaranteed supplies to be able to meet those summer peak months. We're working with Metropolitan on ways in which to stagger deliveries to enhance the amount of water that we can deliver during the summer months.
Yeah, this is probably all true, but why a couple of months ago were we told we had plenty of water and we didn't need the developer fees to acquire additional water. So, I mean, this is just the opposite of what we had 2 months ago.
Okay, and maybe I need to do a better job of explaining the difference between long-term water supply versus the short-term deficit that we have in the state water project. And we're as an agency, we're able to generate between 20 to 25,000 acre feet out of the water bank and be able to deliver that to our customers. So that's what we can get out of the West Side Water Bank and deliver to our customers. Our current demand is approximately 40 to 45,000 acre feet. So we're working to acquire that additional, 15 to 20,000 acre feet. And we're this initial purchase here is to be able to get some of those water supplies that's going to be necessary to meet the demands in 2022.
But all this information during that presentation, it was available. We knew we were in a drought. We talked about it. We knew what was expected. There were some people who expected to have many more years of mega drought. Nobody knows for sure. Right. We knew what the reservoir levels were. We knew what the reservoir levels were probably going to be in a few months. And I'm not saying this is not so we don't need the water, but this is the information that's presented was not conducive to understanding the total long term. Talking about long term and short term, it's all water. And when we had that presentation, that wasn't clear about we didn't have enough water this year or next year.
Correct. And as soon as the agency can complete some infrastructure improvements, we can fully utilize our West Side Water Bank, and we'll be in a better position to take to be able to go through these dry periods.
I wish our customers, maybe staff has, maybe we've had communications, but I wish they would have an opportunity to comment, yes, we can afford this, or we need it, or no, we're going to rely more on other resources that they may have available. Maybe there's no resources, but I just hate to spring that on people all of a sudden. Your rates are going to maybe be 3 times as much as they've been in the past without talking to make sure it's acceptable.
Yes, we have just Director Lane, we have had conversations with all of our major retailers. They're very aware of our situation as far as delivery, and they're working closely with AVEK to utilize as much of our groundwater supply as we can during the next year in order to get us through this dry period.
Nothing further.
And I will, just for the board, I'd be happy to put together a presentation for the next board meeting where we can talk, go into a little bit further with regards to what the difference is between long-term and short-term water, and the particular issues that AVEK is facing over the next year or two if it continues to be dry.
Dwayne, this is Shelley. I have a question. If we would have kept those developer fees, could they have been used to offset the situation that we're facing in the next year?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the discussion. We do have a board order before us to consider. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Director Nato. I'll go ahead and move on 7C1 that we approve the term sheet with between Palmdale City and AVEK.
And this is Director Sorsable. I'll second it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion?
Yes, this is Director Van Dam. I'm with George on this deal. I'm not real excited about that Palmdale making that kind of money off of us. At the end of the day, I understand sounds like we do need the water, and I'll probably vote for it, but I'm with George on that. I think they're gouging us.
Well, it's Gary. After I didn't hear some of this in the presentation, so I didn't want to be negative. But we do need the water. But we shouldn't be charging us at all for the mistake they made on the engineering on Amagosa Creek, and they made us pay for it. Does everybody remember that?
Yeah, but that's kind of a different subject.
Well, I don't know. Money is money. But I know we need the water, and we got to make this deal happen. But I didn't realize. Well, anyway, I'm still going to vote for it.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes, but it's a very reluctant vote. I wish we had had more information and a little better negotiating with the city of Palmdale.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dice.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you very much.
Okay. I want to piggyback on what George said. Our management, our team management needs to be paired for our meetings when the directors ask them for information. It's not fair to us and them, the directors not in the committee, not to understand what was done over the initial, especially the original agreement with the city of Palmdale. Okay, item 7C2. This is consideration and possible action on a term sheet between AVEK and Homer LLC for AVEK option dry year water exchange. Okay, again, General Manager Chisholm.
Thank you, Director Donato. As I alluded to earlier, this is a program to acquire an initial allocation for 2022. This water will be utilized to meet the peak demands that we anticipate that will occur during the summer period, as I talked about previously. And I want to reiterate that typically the agency has between 15 to 20,000 acre feet of carryover, which is stored in San Luis Reservoir. We anticipate that we will not have that water available to the agency for the year 2022. In order to provide for some additional water during this period, we as an agency have reached out to Homer LLC, one of the water providers that have actually sold a lot of water to to see if we could get and purchase some water coming back to the agency. And we came up with the term sheet that we reviewed with the committee. It's contained in your packet on page 38 through, I think it is 41. And I'll try and go over what the basic terms of this are, this agreement. Yeah, second here. I'm not sure exactly where I'm at. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so what the term sheet does is provide the general.
It's not, wait, Wayne, there is no sheet here. Can we see the sheet?
You mean the term sheet?
The one you showed us.
Yeah. We'll bring it up. Yes. Let's start with page 1. So this is the agreement. This is the agreement where issues. In the as you go in to this agreement, it provides for two options to acquire. Okay, let me see. You ready there, Colin? Okay, so it provides two options to acquire between 5 to 10,000 acre feet in 22 and 23. And the term of the agreement is will end at December 31 of 2027. What that does is allows us 5 years to repay Homer for the water, either in money or in water, for the water that we've acquired from them. So under option A, as we move through here, they're going to provide 5,000 acre feet of dry year water. And that we'll have that water January 2nd or January 1st of 2022. And so that's the option there. And then option B would be to, by July 1st of 2022, develop an additional 5,000 acre feet if the agency needs that to be able to use that volume under option B. And so moving to the next page. And that water is coming from water bank, table A water that they have in San Joaquin Valley, and also pre-1914 water, which is water that's which has a higher level of security. And but this is water that exists in a water bank in Kern County water agency that can be pumped back to the canal and delivered directly to AVEK. In order to get this water, the reservation fee would be $150 per acre foot for option A. That's equivalent to $750,000, and that would be we'd have to provide that within the first 60 days once the final agreement is approved. Option B, you'd have the same amount, but that wouldn't occur till after that option is undertaken. And this is a non-refundable deposit, and in order to reserve this water for use in 2022. If we exercise and get the 5,000 acre feet of water, then the $150 an acre foot is then utilized to compensate for the amount of water that's delivered to the agency. AVEK would incur all the variable charges from where it's put into the aqueduct to bring it to our service area. And we would use our existing state water capacity that we have in the canal in order to make deliveries. Move the thing up a little further. Yeah. So if you look at compensation to Homer, it's in essence it's $1,200 an acre foot for the water, and that's what it looks like there. Okay.
Must be. You said 200 from San Joaquin Valley. Is this going to cost more than that?
Well, it would be, if we use the same analogy, it's $1,200 to get it get it into the canal. It'll be another $200 to get it over the Tehachapi's, deliver it to our area, and then another $100 for treatment. So you'd be looking at $1,500.
Now, couldn't our retailers, could they not pump above their entitlement in replacement fee? What is that, Matt? Or
we looked into that. That was the first alternative.
What is a replacement fee?
Well, it has nothing to do with cost. They don't have the ability to do that.
Well, if you pump more than you're entitled right now, what
Correct.
do you pay the water master?
Well, you pay the water master, what's the replacement fee?
It's just shy of $500 per acre foot for replacement water to the water master.
And that was our first alternative that we looked at.
I mean,
Was
there's a
doing
lot
that.
of people who no longer farming. I mean, the Nebraska Ranch, and
Right.
this just doesn't make sense.
Well, if we could, if those agencies don't have the ability to pump additional water beyond that because of their own limitations from water quality, just capacity within their systems, to be able to do that. And AVEK doesn't have the ability to pump any more water than we have our ability to do now. So there is a need to have wet water in the canal in order to meet our customer demands. We can't make it up with groundwater. I wish we could, because that would be the preferred alternative.
But again, we don't know what's going to happen, next year as far as our precipitation.
Right. So that's why this is an option payment for the first initial amount. If we get a very wet winter, then we don't have to incur all the costs for acquiring this water.
Then do we have to return this water?
If we can do one of two things, we can either return the water or we can pay for the water. And that's how it's worked out. And the value of the water is designed based on what the water year is.
Okay. Then we wouldn't owe the $1,200.
Right. In other words, we would get, if it's, let's go move down to the next chart. There's another chart that comes down. So if you look at it, keep going right there. So if you look at this chart here, what you see is if it's a 0 to 25% year, then the water that we would return back to Homer, we get $1,200 an acre foot for. If it's 26 to 60%, then we get $60 per acre foot, and 61 to 85 at $425 per acre foot. So it allows a sliding scale based on the value of water, so that we can return more water in years when it's plentiful and get the same type of dollar credit. And when we have a 0 to 25% year, which is likely what we'll see the next few years, any water that we return to Homer would allow us to receive $1,200 per acre foot for that water to offset the payments that, and that's, in other words, the water and dollar value is consistent. Any questions? So if we want to move up just a little bit more, yeah, thank you. That's far enough. So in essence, what this does is this provision allows AVEK to return water to Homer and get a dollar value for that water. And that offsets the final payment costs that we would have. At the end of 5 years, we'd have to pay whatever the balance is.
But on our agenda, it's showing for the 1,200 across the 0 to 25 across the chart. It shows it's 0, 0, 0.
Yeah, that's maybe Matt can help me with the chart there a little bit, because that's a little confusing.
So Director Lane, you're looking at the chart on page 39 at the bottom of page 39 of the packet.
I was looking at 37.
Oh no, go back.
Yeah, 30, yeah, it looks like this.
Yeah, Director Lane's looking at the staff report, but it's the same chart in this agreement. So you scroll down a little bit, Holly. So right there. So this chart, maybe I can try to explain a little more. The reservation fee of $150 is non-refundable. So the agency would be out that amount of cash, regardless of how we pay back the debt to Homer. So this chart shows that we're getting the credit of the $150 reservation fee towards the $1,200 per acre foot. So you can see in worst case, if we decide to pay cash $900 per acre foot, we would also owe water in return at 0.25 acre feet for every 1 acre foot that was delivered by Homer. And maybe go down further, Holly, to the next.
Hey, Matt.
It's probably a better example.
Matt,
Yes.
Matt, go back, Matt, go back. Matt, I think what they're not getting is that those dollar amounts is a figure, no matter what, they're going to get paid per acre foot, plus they'll be getting water in return as well. Is that correct?
So that's kind of correct. So the value on the water that we get from Homer is $1,200 per acre foot. And how the agency chooses to pay for that water is up to us, whether that's repaid by water and returned to them or cash. So this table is intended to show a blend of a cash payment, if we choose, and a return payment in water. So you can see down at the very bottom there, you can see $150. That's the reservation fee. So we're getting credit for that regardless. And if we choose to return or pay for this water all in return water in future years, you can see the 0.88. That is, we'd have to return 0.88 acre feet for every acre foot that they delivered to us under a 0 to 25% allocation year. And then you can move to the next column if it's allocation year of 26% to 60%, which is the most likely scenario where we would return water to Homer. We're down at the bottom. You can see we're getting the credit for the $150 reservation fee, and we would have to return 1.75 acre feet for every acre foot that was delivered to Homer. So this agreement gives us total flexibility to pay for this water supply in 2022 and or 2023 by either paying cash at $1,200 per acre foot, or in a future when we have excess table A supply, to return a ratio based on this table back to Homer. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, we can do better than this. We're going to be having water that we're going to have to be selling. When selling for $1,500 an acre foot, retail water agency is probably going to have to sell it for $2,000 plus or minus an acre foot. And we're talking about what the market is, and we're going to be setting the market, and we're going to keep going up and up and up. And right now, replacement water, what you say, like $500 an acre foot? We can do better. We don't need to do this. If we want to go with Homer, we got to do a much better agreement.
Hey, George.
Yes.
Yeah. There is the sad thing here is that we got, hit as a committee because that's what their management's putting together. But George, there is no replacement water. If we didn't have anything on the table today, what we just saw here, if we went out in the open market today, we'd be paying $1,200 to $1,500 an acre foot.
Yeah,
that's what's so sad about this whole thing. I don't understand how we got into this situation, because all I know is I've been saying it for the last 3-4 months, and I guess nobody was hearing me, but we went from 120,000 acre feet of water 2 years ago. Now we're down to less than 60,000 acre feet in the ground. So, and God forbid, I'm telling you, God forbid, if we have another drought year, we could zero out that water in the ground if we don't make these deals. I know one thing, we got a bunch of retailers out there don't have the way and means of pumping water without us supplementing them. So we need, that's something the board needs to discuss. How are we going to keep us from, doing this? But, the governor, it's okay. He lets out, I'm not joking, I'm not fabricating, and I'm not picking on him, but he did let go 760,000 acre feet of water in the ocean, knowing we were in a drought. That's what I don't understand. I just don't understand. Everybody knows we're in a drought, and yet there's not one word mentioned on any newspaper, any from the governor or anywhere else. But now we're going to be spending all this extra money to buy this water from people we work with in business. It's crazy. Don't make any sense. But the open market, to get put back to my point, if we didn't have these presentations tonight, and if we don't get less, let's say we only got 5% allocation, we're still going to have to go out in the open market and pay $1,200 to $1,500 an acre foot to supply our retailers. Am I off, Matt, Dwayne?
No, that's accurate.
That's very accurate.
And if I could just maybe reiterate, the goal of having this agreement in place is it ensures that we have a block of water up to 10,000 acre feet of wet water in the East Branch Aqueduct for treatment at the Court Sale facility, the Acton facility, and a couple other minor locations where we need wet water with that. We don't have access to the groundwater or the imported water that is stored at our water banks. And if the hydrology changes as we get into 2022 and we don't need all 10,000 acre feet of this supply, at least we have the insurance that we have this block of water available to the agency. And worst case is we're out $150 per acre foot to reserve that block of water for the agency.
The regional water agencies still have an option of buying local water that's available. So this is not pretty accurate.
I got a question.
What are you referring to, George?
George?
Yes.
What are you referring to?
Well, in AVEK, they just sold their ranch, and I'm sure I'm not sure what their entitlement is, but it's significant.
Well, we investigated that. Dwayne, you want to respond, please?
Yes.
Because I want George to understand that we have, as a committee, have been searching high and low for alternatives because it gives us no pleasure to pay more money than we have to pay for anything. And not being on the committee, he's not privy to that background information, which I appreciate his question. So if you could please help us with that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Yes. The first alternative for creating new supply to meet the demand is to utilize groundwater. And you're correct. Even if you have to overpump, we can always return the water later. The problem in implementing that type of solution is that the infrastructure that our customers have could not support pumping additional water beyond what they can pump. They're pumping the maximum amount of water that they can pump at the present time with the water wells and the water quality restrictions that they have. And so we're looking to fill the gap between what they can pump and what we can deliver out of the West Side Water Bank with this additional water. And that's in essence where we are. Because if we had the ability to pump more groundwater and to deliver it in the right locations within the valley, we wouldn't have to acquire this water. And
what about Nebinger? Never.
It's the same issue. There's plenty of water to be had in the groundwater basin, but you got to have the water well system, and you got to have the ability to deliver that water to where it's needed. And I'm not talking just about AVEK's facilities, but the retailers' facilities also, to make sure that they maintain their water quality, which is an important aspect to create this.
Who's they? Who's they, Dwayne?
They being the retail water suppliers.
Okay.
Retail water suppliers have to maintain their water quality, and because of various water quality issues within their existing wells, they don't have the ability to overpump those wells and add more water into the system.
What does that have to do with Nebuchadnezzar's land, though?
In other words, what it means is even though you have water that's at the Nebuchadnezzar's land, you can't pump it because there isn't an ability or physical capacity to be able to pump that water.
You don't have to pump that water. You just have to have the right. It can be pumped from the regional water agencies. And before we would enter into this agreement, which would be the most expensive water, to my knowledge, we've ever partaken of, we should at least, in a more formal manner, talk to our customers and see what their preference would be. But like I said, you indicated about the system to get it to the regional water agencies. You just have to pump like they did previously, right there. So it doesn't have to originate from there.
I want to assure you, George, that we did do that due diligence. We did talk to the water agencies.
I'd like to see it.
Okay, we'd be happy to get you some information that would show that. But we did.
Dwayne, you still did not explain Shelley's question. Well, George, but then Shelley, the thing you didn't say is that they cannot pump additional water from many wells because of the suppression of the groundwater issue.
That's not an issue, Frank. It's they don't have the ability to pump any more water.
You mean the size? Are you saying the size of the wells?
The size of the wells, the number of the wells, the quantity of the wells. They are pumping all the groundwater they can possibly pump out of their systems.
But they're going to be pumping half what they did a few years ago before the adjudication. So that doesn't seem plausible.
Okay. Well.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Yeah, George. Dwayne. Isn't it time? I know some of them are on the phone right now, but they're going to have to raise a little more money in their districts to drill a second well or something like that. I mean, I know one thing that would help this if Nebuchadnezzar Ranch is an example. If the SNP line was in, and we could connect to the SNP line, would that help?
Oh, it would. If we had the SNP line in, we probably wouldn't be talking. Because we'd be able to.
I get louder, please.
If the SNP line was in, we probably wouldn't be talking about this arrangement because we'd be able to utilize more water out of our West Side Water Bank, and if we can also add additional wells into the system once the SNP line's in to add more capacity, so that we can address these issues. That is the major issue that AVEK has, is completely utilizing all of our water banking facilities, and that's the critical nature of that infrastructure that would allow us to meet all of our customer demands, because we could bring that well water up to the Quartz Hill treatment plant, treat it there, and deliver it to our customers.
Yeah, but the problem is it's a $50,000-$60,000 price tag for that pipe.
Million.
I'm sorry.
Million.
Yeah.
50. And I did hear some good news today that the steel's going down from Matt. But here, the thing is that this water, and you got to just explain this to everybody, that this is a dry year water that Rapatellis is going to come back. We're going to be raising our water rate substantially this year to cover this water. Is that the next presentation you're going to give us?
We're going to be talking about our water rate hearing. That'll be at the end of the month, end of November, I should say, where all of these costs will be included in that water rate study in order to recoup 100% of the costs that are associated with acquiring this water.
Yeah, before this decision is made by the board, I think it would be fair to everyone involved, our customers and all the purveyors, if we did have a special meeting and talked about this, then if we had a rate that would show the proposed rate under this scenario versus other scenarios. But yeah, I think we owe it to our customers and our taxpayers.
George, that's a great idea. I think we need to do a little roundtable here because this caught us completely off guard. And it did. And I'm thinking, what do we do with this water? But I agree with your idea because you haven't seen the full presentations and you're not hearing what we saw. And how can you vote on something we don't know? But I know one thing, the water rate, everybody needs to be involved because it's going to be, if any of these programs, whether it's $600, $1,200 an acre foot, it automatically raises the prices. Plus, we got to pay back a percentage of acre feet back to them on top of this payment, which really, this is not really the true cash payment. It actually is more if you add the acre feet of water that we got to pay back. Is that correct, staff?
No, the water payment will reduce the amount of cash that we have to deliver. Whatever water we return back to Homer will reduce the cash that's necessary.
Mr. President, I would move that we would table this to a meeting within a month or two until we've had a chance to meet with our purveyors, our customers, and we have a proposed water rate. It would be with this scenario with these new rates.
Thank you. Do we have a second to the motion?
I will second the motion, but I don't think, George, we can't wait 2 months. We gotta do something here the next 3 or 4 weeks.
A month.
Okay.
I can we make a comment now, President Dias?
Certainly.
Because the Homer's going to do something with this water, and if we want to take a couple months to make a decision, that water may be gone.
A month.
Okay, I don't know what their time frame is. I just wanted to caution everybody about that. And I'm not suggesting that we go ahead and do it tonight. I'm just saying we need to keep that in mind.
You always take that chance.
That is a good point, Director Sourceball.
Mr. Director of ADEV, I had one comment. Like George said, if we're in this ramp down, how are we ramping down and now all of a sudden these wells are maxed out? I'm a little confused on that deal.
That's a great question. And that's a great question. Could somebody answer that one?
I can tell you in my discussions with retail agencies, they are utilizing their production right, and they all have some stored rights or water production rights that they've had stored up through return flows and other matters to allow them to pump as much as their systems will allow them to pump.
It shouldn't be a problem, though.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Gary.
No, go ahead.
Okay, Dwayne. In a provision with the agreement with D40 in the stipulated judgment, we have 3,500 acre feet of water there, don't we? For 3,000?
Yes, that's a lease.
I can't hear you. Yes?
Yes, that's a lease.
Okay, wait. But the lease also says if we're in a crucial situation, we can utilize that water, and we can take that water in this situation.
I understand.
No. That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you understand. I asked you what it says.
If you let me finish, my point is that additional 3,500 acre feet will not add any additional water into the system because we're maximizing all the groundwater we can take that our customers can take out of our system. We're doing everything we can to put as much additional groundwater does not help.
So let me ask you a question. So they haven't been, that means D40 has not been utilizing that water?
They've been utilizing that water, yes.
Okay, then what are you talking about? If they're utilizing the water,
they're also storing water, production right, and other water that they have available. So it's they use it and they store other water that's equivalent to that total.
you know, I think George is right. We need to sit down and talk about that and talk about these things, because there's a problem here. You know, we're spending this kind of money, and I can't believe we cannot interconnect somehow to pull water out of the Antelope Valley banks. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Or we're not pointing to them to ask them to maybe we should drill partnership with some of these districts so we can get the water back into the AVEK system.
Certainly all the points, but we do have a motion on the table.
I'm sorry.
Could we have roll call vote?
Well, hold on a minute. What do we vote? Exactly explain to us, Keith, what we're doing here.
We are proposing to table discussion of this item for approximately 1 month.
Or before.
If our staff were prepared to bring the issue back for the next meeting, yes, it could be quicker.
Okay.
Good question, Gary.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
No.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dice.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. Item 8, General Manager's Report. Dwayne?
Okay. Give me a second to, is this on? Okay, this is the General Manager's Report for October 12th, 2021. Here's the Northern California forecast. We're looking at some chances of precipitation. This is early in the new water year, began on October 1st. And we have snow levels that are dropping down to between 5,500 acre feet, 5,500 feet to 7,500 acre feet by the end of the week. This is the new graph, and you can see here from the graph, this is, we started a new water year in October. We've had 0.2 inches of rain since October 1st. And you can see we typically get on average 2.9 inches. So we'll continue to track these precipitation curves for the board members on an ongoing basis. Here's our reservoir amounts, and you can see here in San Luis Reservoir, we're 11% of total capacity. So you can see very low, 22% of the total capacity in Lake Corville. We've got some graphs here to further show that. Here's our where we're at in Orville as we start, and you can see that in a wet year we go way up here, and in a drier year we're somewhere in here. And so we're hoping we're going to get some runoff coming into Orville this year, and time will tell. Same thing with the San Luis Reservoir. We're way down here, and you can see typically we add some during the next 3 or 4 months, and then we have a steady decline because this is a off-site reservoir. Closer to home, our current flows between 18.9 and 19.3 million gallons a day. Our geopurification is running between 10.2 and 2.2 million gallons a day. Water banking, you can see the only put a little bit of water in the east side water bank, and then we're pumping that out and maintaining that. As far as water quality updates go, the lab is performing their ELAP certification renewal. We're working on the 2020 monitoring schedule. This is the last month for the algae sampling, and our finished water quality still meet all of our standards despite the high turbidity and coliform count. What we have here is groundwater recovery. We're using about 50% of our capacity and providing our customers with all the groundwater that they can utilize. This is Bench Ranch well number 1 was repaired and be put back into production. We also have William Wiles, who's set to do a repair on the North Feeder on January 17th of 2022. And we're continuing to begin to plan for our water treatment maintenance projects. We have no cases of COVID-19. As far as schedules go, we have the AV State Water Contractors Board meeting. We've got the AV Water Master meeting on the 27th. This meeting is on the 14th. The National Water Resources Association Conference is going in November between the 8th and the 10th. We also are contemplating a special meeting on water rates for 11:30. You'll hear more about that. That would be what we had envisioned, and we'll see how that works into the direction given tonight. And then our Aqua Fall Conference begins in Pasadena between November 30th through 12/2. So that concludes the staff report. For the general manager's report, I should say. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. Item 9, directors' reports. Do any directors have a report for the board? Hearing none, we'll move along to attorney's report. Sheldon?
Nothing to report, President Dias.
Thank you. Item 11, request for future agenda items. Does anyone wish to add anything to a future agenda item? If not, we will entertain number 12, closed session. Dwayne, is there any reason to go into closed session tonight?
No, there's not.
Okay. In that case, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. President, this is Rob. I move we adjourn.
Thank you.
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Thank you, Shelley. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. We're now adjourned. Thank you all very much for attending and participating. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Aye.